Yes, you boxing degenerates. Let's go. Video 2 in this new era, 2023, baby. We're going to keep this up. What I'm planning to do, we're going to drop 10 videos, right, in January. And that's just going to be some random stuff that I want to talk about, memories from fights that I've been at, top 5 lists, all kinds of madness, nonsense, pontification, conjecture, punditry. And then on top of that, we're going to do all of the fights that are coming up. So we've got Smith versus Eubank coming up, or Eubank versus Smith. We've got Yard versus Beterbiev. Whatever's coming up, we're going to be reviewing it, previewing it, predicting, analyzing all of them thing there. So the content's going to be coming thick and fast. But let's get straight into it right now, because I want to try and keep these at a reasonable time frame. So this is all about top 5 fights that I've been to live. Now, I appreciate some of the people watching this. I mean, all 2 of you. Some of you guys have been to fights live. Some of you guys haven't had the opportunity, and that might be just because you haven't, or you're not somewhere where you can go and see live boxing on a regular basis. So I just kind of wanted to paint the picture for the top 5 fights that I've been lucky enough to actually attend. So I tell you guys up front, in no particular order, here's the 5, right? So we're going to talk about Froch versus Groves 1 in 2013 at the MEN. We're going to talk about Josh versus Whyte in 2015 at the O2. We're going to talk about Spence versus Porter in 2019 at the Staples Center, and Fury versus Wilder, which was just before COVID, in February 28th, I believe, 2020, just before the Roni started, and Josh versus Klitschko, which was April 2017 at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000. So those are the 5, and then we're going to drop an honorable mention as well. So let's get straight into it, right? Froch versus Groves. This fight, it really had that old school prime Sky Sports Matchroom British dust up pay-per-view hype build up. It had everything, right? You had 2 guys, 2 very different personalities. You got Froch, the northerner, you got Groves, the West Londoner. You know, you got Froch that felt like he wanted his credit for being a warrior and everything that he had done on the road. And then you get George Groves, who's like, yo, I'm just coming to take your title. I'm just like, you know what I mean? However you feel about your story, I feel the same about mine. And I'm coming to take that title and become world champion. And I'm trying to give you no respect on the way. And I even remember in the build up to the fight when you had them on the Sky Sports head to head, and Groves was saying, are you going to start crying? And Froch literally looked like he was breaking down psychologically. And then you had the whole drama with Groves splitting up with longtime trainer and manager Adam Booth. And there was rumors of Groves training himself. He ended up going with Paddy Fitzpatrick, an amateur coach, and training out of an amateur gym. And there was just so much subtext and drama behind this fight. And cold night in Manchester in November. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was pretty raw up there. I remember getting to Manchester on the train and then realizing midway through, I ain't got the tickets, you know. It was just me and my boy, Nathan, and then my boy Rob was supposed to come, but he couldn't make it, unfortunately. He had a bit of a family issue. And so we had a spare ticket we were trying to sell when we get up there. And I realized I haven't even got any tickets. Like, I'm patting myself down, you know, like that. Like, you know what I mean? There's nothing there. It doesn't matter how many times I pat myself down. There's nothing there, bro. So next thing you know now, I'm calling my girl saying that, look, like, if we can't sort this out, you're going to have to pick up them 3 tickets here, get yourself on the train to Manchester. You're coming to the fight. And yeah, you're crashing in the Jury's Inn or whatever with me and Nath. I mean, I might have to get a next room, but whatever. So my girl's on standby. Next thing you know, call up Ticketmaster. I'm like, yo, I've left my tickets at home. I'm on the train. I don't really know what to do here. And they were like, yeah, it's not a big issue. We can reprint at the box office. So if you go to the box office, it's like, show them some ID and like show them your booking email. They'll reprint some tickets. They'll be there waiting for you. Man, honestly, like, I was bricking it. My brethren was bricking it. My girl was bricking it. I don't think she really fancied the impromptu trip to Manchester and that. She didn't even like the boxing. But yeah, anyway, we made it now. And the thing was, I said in the build up to the fight, yeah, that Groves, because you got to keep in mind as well, Froch was the unanimous favorite. Nobody was really giving Groves a chance, especially with this training situation. I think Groves was in his maybe 17th fight, 18th fight. At the time, he had no real credentials at world level. He had been seen as chinny. Froch was this warrior who'd been there, seen it, done it all. And I'm the one that said it. And you know what I mean? I don't chat to man anymore. Hold these if you're watching it, hold one of these as well. But like I said to my boy Nathan, that Froch, yeah, is gonna get caught in the first round and he's gonna do the funky chicken. And if anything, he might even go down. Yeah. And my boy thought I was talking about Groves, but I'm like, no, Froch, yeah, because Groves has got that jackhammer right hand. Froch has got a little bit lazy with the defense. I mean, we saw that in the Kessler fight in the rematch as well. You know, Kessler was old, Kessler was washed, but he was still touching him with that right hand. And this is gonna but then Froch is gonna recover like the warrior he is, and he's gonna probably stop Groves late. So we're there in Manchester, like 20,000 Northerners going absolutely nuts. I'll be honest with you, Groves didn't have much support. I think it was pretty much me and my boy from London, and that was a wrap, yeah. And these Manchester man, like I swear to God, as we were going into the arena, one dude passes me a leaflet for 24-hour alcohol delivery. You know, like that. It looked like a pizza leaflet. All these different bargain buckets and meal deals, and it was all just alcohol. Like if you buy like 24 pack of Guinness, you get a bottle of Jack Daniels, do you know what I mean, for half price. It was, and this, you got to keep in mind, this is 2013. This is before Uber Eats, Just Eat, Deliveroo. You know what I mean? We didn't have no concept of that back then. These are just entrepreneurs, boy, just doing 24-hour illicit alcohol delivery. It was a mad thing. But anyhow, so you get to we had good seats. We was ringside. We were just by as people were making the entrances and exits. So on the undercard, we were seeing everyone walk in and walk forward. So the one thing that I remember, these Northerners, right, they like to get on the bugle, brother. They were keying up a line. And then at one point, one geezer, I had the blazer on, you know, I had to come with the London swag, yeah. And this Northern monkey now, he's like poured out a whole bunch of fucking yayo, yeah. And he sniffing up a line off my blazer, bruv. Come on now, that's not legit. I had to hit him with a right, I had to hit him with an elbow in that. But they were going mental. And when that, I tell you, yeah, when that first round happened and Groves hit Froch with that right hand and Froch went down, 20,000 went silent. It was an absolute madness. And then we all know what happened next. I'm taking way too long about this. I'm trying to make these a little bit short and sharp. But anyhow, we all know what happened next. Groves dominated for about 6 rounds. Howard Foster, the referee, very controversial decision to stop the fight. Even the crowd were booing. You know, there were some people cheering for Froch, don't get me wrong, but the crowd had kind of turned against Froch, from being very, very pro the Northerner to everyone was cheering Groves. So unbelievable night. And then obviously we went on to see the rematch. So I'd have to put that in my top 5. So moving on, next fight, I would have to say it's got to be Joshua versus Whyte. Now, keep in mind, I'm still trying to figure out this shit works as we go. So, I mean, Joshua versus Whyte, North London versus South London. You know what I mean? The thing that about this fight as well is that I was actually training out of Finchley ABC at the time with Sean Murphy, with Gary, who were Joshua's amateur coaches when they fought for the first time in the amateurs. Obviously, it's been spoken about quite a lot. I think that was Joshua's 3rd fight, and that was Whyte's first fight in the amateurs. Whyte obviously got the decision. Now, what was being said to me, and at the time, was that Josh was training on the Thursday. They got the call saying, "Do you want to take a fight?" The next day, and Sean Murphy said, "Yeah, we'll take it." He said to Josh, "Listen, don't train. You're fighting tomorrow." Josh said, "Nah, F that. I'm training anyway." And then, you know what I mean, we'll mash up whoever this geezer is, right? And I think they actually knew each other. But yeah, so yeah, Joshua said, I know who that is. I'll mash him up, and let's do the training session. And so Sean put everything down to that because he was tired, he didn't have the legs in him from the training session. But if he had just gone in fresh and sharp, he would have got him out of there. So everyone at my gym was gassing me up, saying it's a 3-round fight. Josh was going to walk through him. That amateur fight was a fluke. And to be honest with you, at that point, I was at the height of my AJ fanboy phase. And any boxing fan from London that says that they've never been an AJ fanboy, yeah, I mean, you can lie to me, guys. It's all right. Honestly, you can lie to me, but you can't lie to yourselves. At some point, if you're from London, especially like, I mean, if you're from North or West London, you was an AJ fanboy at some point. And for me, like 2015, I was probably at my peak. So I actually trained that morning at Finchley with all the coaches, with all the gang. And then in the evening, I was going to the fight. And I was saying to everybody that, look, this is going to go late. This is going to go late. That Whyte is a durable character, right? And he's not going to want to get blown away. And at the time, I don't think Joshua had been more than 3 rounds, right? Every fight had been 3 rounds max. And people were saying, no, this is just another one on the list, yeah? This is going to be a 3-round jobby, you know what I mean? Quick things out of there. And I wanted to put down a bet for 6 to 9 rounds or 7 to 9 rounds. And anyway, I ended up getting convinced and I changed it to 4 to 6 rounds. So I still didn't think it was going to be 3, but I thought, you know what I mean? I thought I'd meet him in the middle. Ended up being obviously 7th round knockout, brutal uppercut from Joshua. And he got caught obviously in the second with a left hook, started doing the funky chicken, legs were everywhere. There was the mad ring invasion after the first round. You had who was it? Stormzy coming through for the Joshua entrance, which I mean, Dillian Whyte kind of saw that as a bit of a betrayal because them two are both from South. So it was just a wild night. I was pretty much ringside for the fight. There's a couple of points in the camera shot where you see me and my boys as well. So mental night, great atmosphere. I got to be honest, I was pretty wasted as well. And yeah, just an incredible night. 2 London fighters, British title in a packed O2. Yeah, it was a madness. So let's try and keep this moving as well. So next fight, I would say would definitely be Spence Porter. Slightly different change of scenery. I was actually in LA for a work thing. So I'm saying I was in LA for some training for a company that I just started working for, and they were based in Irvine, Southern California. So I was flying into LAX, and it was just perfect timing, to be honest with you. So got into LAX, checked in at the hotel. It was kind of one of these apart hotel concepts. So I think they had some residential people that lived there, and they had some of the units that were out for apartments, for holidays and whatever. So yeah, part hotel, part residential block. And just as we're checking in, you've got all these geezers behind me with Team Spence t-shirts, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what's going on, fellas?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, what? This is your boy, yeah?" And he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do the business." And I was like, "Okay, what? Points or knockout?" Because there was a lot of talk in this fight where Spence was training for the knockout, and he wanted to be the first one to stop Sean Porter. Salut, yeah. And I was like, okay, interesting. And I was pretty jet lagged, managed to catch a bit of Z's before the fight. And I got to be honest with you, we nearly missed it because me and my girl, we just couldn't get out of bed. Not like that, you know what I mean? But just from the jet lag. And finally, we walked down there. Luckily, it was just a short walk down to the arena. And we got in just as the chief support was kicking off. So it was Anthony Dirrell against David Benavidez in an absolute war. Yeah. And California now, even in the arena, that good smell was all over the place. You know what I mean? So I was catching some of that passive THC as well. So I was in a bit of a daze, to be honest with you. And then the main event kicks off. These guys went to war from the first round. I took my girl with me, right? This is the second fight she'd been to. First fight was Lomachenko versus Campbell, which was a good fight in itself at the O2. And now I take her to Spence Porter, and she's like, wow, is boxing always like this? I was like, no, you just randomly come to two classics, right? These guys threw down. Now, I don't know whether this was necessarily on in the UK. If it was, it wasn't at a decent hour. But to UK people, yeah, if you never watch this fight start to finish, you have to watch this fight. These guys just threw down. And one thing I really noticed from that fight is that Porter, he's not just brawn, man. He's got skills too. The boy really put some skills on display. Spence was just so big, so strong, and he was catching with the heavy shots on the counter. Obviously, Spence got the knockdown in the 11th round, and that swayed the judges. But I got to be honest with you, in the building, it was very pro Sean Porter, very pro Sean Porter. Like, Porter's too classy to call it a robbery, but the building had Porter's back. And I think maybe just his style, the way he improvises, he throws a lot of punches, a lot of volume, he puts it all on the line, he takes risks. Maybe if you're not quite at ringside and you can't see the intricacies of what's landing and what's not, maybe that's why the crowd had Porter. You know, I got to be honest, it did look a little bit different on TV, but either way, it was an incredible fight, incredible atmosphere. And yeah, man, absolutely loved that night. So moving on, Fury Wilder 2. Now, this fight, I had to put it in there just because of the whole atmosphere. Now, one thing I always wanted to do since I was a kid, yeah, was to go to a big fight in Vegas, you know, and I've been to see a couple of fights in New York, but the thing about Vegas, and especially not just Vegas, but the MGM Grand, is that everything's in one place. And the mad thing about it is, if you man have never been to the MGM to see a fight, yeah, is that you've got the hotel, you've got all the bars, you've got all the food places, you've got all of the casinos, and then you've got the arena literally within like 5 minutes walk of each other. So you'd be coming out your room and like in the same floor I was on, you had all the PBC guys. So I don't know if you guys remember the Watson, they call them the Watson twins, but they're not twins, they're brothers. And they're always in the ring for the PBC fights. They're Sam Watson's sons. Sam Watson's obviously second in command to Al Heyman at PBC. You had those guys on my floor. You know, I'd be coming out the lift, I'd see Chris Eubank Sr., I'd see Kell Brook, I'd see all the Sky Sports crew. You know what I mean? Like, I just saw so many big names in boxing. Bunsey, Max Kellerman, Andre Ward, Tim Bradley. Because the thing about the fight as well, it was ESPN and Fox. So you had all the big stars from both sides of the fence, as they call it. And incredible atmosphere. You know, you had Fury with all the British fans. To be honest with you, a lot of them weren't really representing British culture and the way we might want to be represented. There's a lot of obnoxious behavior, especially from the Gypsy fans, I'm not gonna lie, especially when it came to things like the weigh-in. You know, they were just pushing in front of people, they were just all over the gaff. But yeah, it was just a madness. I ended up randomly speaking to Deontay Wilder's mum, you know what I mean? With that Alabama accent and all of that, bruv. It was a mad thing. So yeah, just to be there in amongst it all for fight week, you know, the weigh-in, I end up meeting Mike Tyson. You know, I remember asking Mike, how do you see the fight going? Yeah, Tyson, man. I was like, all right, points or knockout. He's like, points, maybe tap them late. You know, like meeting Mike Tyson was a mad thing. I met Lennox Lewis as well. Lennox was a bit arsey, you know. Fuck Lennox, to be honest with you. Yo, hold these, Lennox. Hold one of these while you're at it. Yeah, you can probably hear from my voice. It was just, as a boxing fanboy, it was just incredible to be there. Fury done the business, one-sided beatdown. I suppose the fight wasn't too much of a classic in the sense that there wasn't too much two-way action, but you got to give Wilder credit for holding his licks. You know, he really stayed in there until his corner pulled him out. So credit to him for that. But I would have to put it in there just for the occasion. Unfortunately, man ended up getting COVID. Raw and Rago, that's how we're doing this, right? On the fly. We're not even going to edit that out. but yeah, I ended up getting COVID that night, and then the next day ended up in hospital. And struggling with COVID, and yeah, and then the whole world changed after that. So incredible night. I always wanted to see a big fight in Vegas, you know what I mean, before I died. But like that night when I was in A&E, I was thinking, whoa, this ain't really what I had in mind. But yeah, memorable night on a number of different fronts. So the final one, again, this is all in no particular order. I'd have to say Josh Klitschko. Yeah, 90,000 people, Wembley Stadium, absolute scenes. Carl Froch, unfortunate. Yeah, I gotta give credit to Carl Froch. Banter, yeah. He did this advert where he was asking for a spare ticket and saying, sorry, mate, we're sold out, 90,000. He was like, oh, sorry, do you mean 70,000? No, 90,000. Um, big up Carl Froch just for having the banter to do that. But yeah, this was just an absolute incredible night. Joshua done the business, of course, dropped him in the fifth round, got dropped himself, and then got him out there in the 11th. One thing people don't talk about, so just as I was there, I'll mention, is that the Ukrainian fans really came out. Like at least 1 in 3 fans were there for Klitschko. You know, don't get it twisted and think that that was all Joshua in the building. Like at least 1 in 3 fans were Ukrainian Klitschko fans. They'd come from all over Europe to support their boy. So credit to them for that as well. But just yeah, being there, I was there with my cousin. Shout out to Amar. And the entrance, the atmosphere, the chanting. Don't get me wrong, being in the stadium, you do lose a little bit of the noise. You know, it's not quite like the cauldron of an arena, but yeah, I thought like everyone in the arena thought Josh was done, and the Ukrainian fans were chanting, cheering, celebrating, high fiving like it was all over after the 6th or 7th round, and they were just thinking, all right, this is just a formality now. And honestly, like the whirlwind of emotions that fight took you on was completely out of this world. Um, and honorable mention goes to Rule Britannia. You see Eddie Hearn in the shot there. Eddie Hearn did a card back, I think, in 2014, maybe, right? Where the reason I probably couldn't put it on here is that the main event weren't saying much, right? It was Kell Brook versus Funtime Frankie Gavin. You know what I mean? Frankie Gavin was having too much of a fun time selling, you know what I mean, that yayo around Birmingham, right? But the card was absolutely stacked, yeah. Let's go through it. There's probably fights I'm gonna miss out, yeah. But you had Nick Blackwell versus John Ryder for a British title, yeah. Two very evenly matched guys. Nick Blackwell, probably slight underdog, catches John Ryder with a clean right hand, wipes him clean out. No one saw it coming. Two Southern fighters, you know, in the O2, and that was a while it lasted, that was an absolute incredible British level fight. Both guys really, you could argue at the time, were European level as well. Now you got the Welsh Mayweather Lee Selby against Evgeny Gradovich. Yeah, very, very serviceable, undefeated fighter. I think for a world title as well. Or it was a final eliminator before world title. I can't remember which one. Shame on me. I think it might have been a world title. Lee Selby put on an absolute clinic, right? Really lived up to the name, the Welsh Mayweather, that night. Broke him down, got him out of there. The footwork was there, the intelligence was there, the feints were there, the jabs, everything. Beautiful performance, right? Then you had who did you have? You had Jorge Linares versus Kevin Mitchell, bro. East London's finest, yeah. And that fight was an absolute mad thing, yeah. The hand speed of Linares, the skills, the footwork, it was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen live. Kevin Mitchell was so brave, yeah. Caught him with a knockdown. Oh man, left hook, brutal fight. To be completely honest with you, I don't even remember who won the fight. I think Jorge Linares forced the stoppage, right? I think the hand speed just ended up getting too much. But one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. And then you had Anthony Joshua against the ever durable, at the time, never been stopped, Kevin Kingpin Johnson. You know what I mean? AKA Bars. So Kevin Johnson, he'd been there with everyone. Yeah, everyone. Klitschko. Um, now, now I can't remember. But I mean, he'd been in there with everyone. Yeah. Check his record. Yeah, Kingpin Johnson been there with everyone, never been stopped. And AJ came out to 50 Cent. If I can't do it, it can't be done. Um, I ain't gonna try and rap it, yeah. But like, yeah, if I can do it, homie, it can be done. Listen, that's why I never did the music thing, yeah. But it was that's when I knew AJ was a connoisseur with the hip hop. Because to come out to that tune against the guy that's never been stopped, like you know what I mean, you had to be a boxing and a rap connoisseur to understand the connection there. Maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, but Joshua got him out there in round one. Round one, it was just absolute scenes. And then obviously, uh, yeah, Kell Brook versus Fun Time. It wasn't really saying too much, quite straightforward for Kell Brook, but the card was stacked deep. And I think even before the ones that I mentioned, there was a couple of decent fights as well. So listen, I was trying to keep it to 15 minutes. It's turned into 27, but that's how we do, man. Like and subscribe, all of them things, man. We're going to be coming thick and fast with the content. Peace.